Good morning. Okay, I'm starting my stream off a little bit differently this morning, but we are in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we're in my Microsoft Flight Simulator is in 2D mode right now, and because I wanted to kind of show what you get when you first start it up in VR. Without further ado, let's do that. VR mode. Okay, so when I get into VR, Uh, one thing that happens is every time I start VR, this happens. So um, I have this dialog box here that says new device detected. Not a new device. I'm using the same controllers I have been for I don't know how many restarts. I don't know what I need to do to say, hey, this is no longer a new device. But so I'll go ahead and click on customize, and that'll take me to the control options screen. So now that it's up here, and so I can use with the my VR controllers the array thing. I can go ahead and move these over. So let me go over to the right one first. So if I click on this and this here, this switch proximity slash raycast. So when I hit the A button, that'll turn that on and off. By default, left one, that isn't mapped. So I added that mapping so that I can turn the raycast off on the left or the right controller. Uh, and but in this particular mode where you're in the controller options, you can't turn it off. It's always on because it's needed. You know, you can't get close enough. If I turned it off, I couldn't get close enough to the screen. Uh, so so here, I'm using a Vive Pro 2 with Valve Index controllers. Uh, this here, this VR toolbar toggle for squeeze, I'm not sure what they're mapping that to on my controller, but it does not work. I can squeeze my grip because that's what it should be. It's the grip squeeze. I can squeeze it as hard as I want. It will never make that toolbar come on. So there's something broken there. I don't know what it is. And select is triggered. So and then let's close this plane. Uh, so cockpit interaction left. Thumbstick. I just figured out what these two things are. I was going to turn them off, but I know what they're used for now. Here menu, and you can basically grab the world map with the so you basically pull the trigger button and you can move the world map. I haven't done it yet, but that's what it's telling me. So one thing that I've noticed is here, if I see this arrow thing, if I click on it, it will move it. And if I click on this here, that'll open that up. But on a sign here, this filter, if I try to do the same thing, doesn't work. So I'm clicking on the trigger button. You would think that, but notice what's going on when I highlight this, I get these R's. I don't get it when I'm here. I don't get it when I'm here. I only get it on this. That's not right. If I go ahead and grab my mouse, on the mouse, there it is. So if I grab my mouse works. As far as I'm concerned, the VR controller should work just the same as a mouse does. What I did learn is if I use the thumbstick and I move it, the thumbstick will rotate me through here. But I mean, it's kind of like, how about let's be consistent? If I can use it for here and here and here, and probably see that's wrong too. So when that one's highlighted, the R's show up. That shouldn't be doing that. I mean, they should stay as the arrows, and then I should be able to cycle through them. So that's a bug. So that's pretty much what I wanted on the controls. I think that's good. Go back. Yeah. Before I get too far, I want to absolutely say that this is like this is compared to Software Update 7 for people that use VR controllers. This was a very marked improvement. A lot of things are working now that didn't work before. For example, when I would start this airplane, try to use this airplane, I would get a dialog box that basically said that um, the VR controllers were not fully supported for this airplane. So when I opted into the beta, I've seen as one of the things that was getting downloaded was uh, the airplanes in the premium and the premium deluxe versions. Um, those were getting updated, so they updated it so that that works. As long as we're in the cockpit, I can't hide this mouse. I'm sorry, I can't hide this yoke. And in VR, that's kind of like pretty important. Uh, so if I take the mouse like I can do in 2D, gotta find my mouse. Normally, I can't even, it doesn't even highlight. So if I come down here a little bit, I can highlight that. There's the brake. But the yoke, nope, can't highlight it. So what do we have to do? Well, this is a bit of a pain, but VR mode? VR mode? So I gotta get into 2D mode. Take the mouse, highlight the yoke, click on it, and the yoke is hidden in VR. VR mode. Now the yoke is hidden, so it's kind of like, okay, come on. So now that we got that all done, let me move up, move up, move up, move up, move forward, move forward. So, got a couple of things going on with these controllers. So the way the index controllers are working for me is if I basically touch, if I pull the trigger, I'm pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger. Now it actually the control switched over to my left one. I was pulling the left trigger, sorry. So now if I pull the right trigger, pull, 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 that turns on. So the control action is over on the it's over on the right one. Also, if I just touch the grip, I don't have to squeeze it, I just touch it. It switches, which is incorrect. I should have to grab. In other words, I should have to kind of grab the VR controller. I the grip part of the VR controller. I should have to grab it, and then it switch. But now it just does it on touch, and it doesn't it's just way too sensitive. So let me jump into my controller bindings. I'm on default bindings, so if I click on show bindings on controllers, there we go. Hopefully you guys can see them. I can't see my chat window right now, but that's okay. So I'm touching the grip of the valve index controller. I'm gripping it now. When I've gripped it hard enough, you notice that the force and the pull light up. Now they go off. Squeeze, squeeze, there we go. And on the left one, same way. Squeeze, squeeze, there we go. So somehow, and I'm not sure how to do that quite yet, somehow we have to get Microsoft Flight Simulator to use that as an input for the grip. I'm not so sure how to do that quite yet. I'm looking. I'm looking to try to figure out how to do that. Where basically so if I'm just touching it, it doesn't light up. I have to squeeze it. The only bad part about this this thing where basically it shows the bindings, this only works the first time you go in. The first time you start Steam VR, it'll show up, but after that it won't work anymore. These will show up, but the animation doesn't work. I don't know why. So I'm touching the grip, touch, squeeze. So that's what need to figure out a way to do this so that it is a squeeze and not a touch. Or when we get back over into Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's a bit confusing. So if we look here, that says squeeze force, squeeze value. So it does say squeeze, and it does say force. So you would think that if you've seen something in Microsoft Flight Simulator that said squeeze and force, that would be the same thing. It's not. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and there is a way, like if I click over here on custom, you can basically change these bindings, but I'm intentionally leaving them on default because I got to get figured out what the interaction is between. So can I show bindings on controllers anymore? Yeah. So now that I've closed it and opened it again, this no longer works. So I'm squeezing this and it doesn't work. So kind of weird. But it is what it is. So we'll go back here, return, and escape. Escape. So if I go to controller options, kind of wait for it to wake up. So over here, VR. Notice that says force squeeze. So you would think that would that'd be the same thing, wouldn't you? That what I was seeing over in Steam, that would be the same thing. But it does not work. So I have it mapped. So I have it mapped for the left. And these are default mappings. And I have it mapped for the right. Force squeeze. So go ahead and go back. Resume. So you would think if I squeeze my index controller, and I'm squeezing the heck out of it, the VR toolbar, and that only showed up because I said VR toolbar. VR toolbar? Because I have a voice command for it. But I should be able to do it with my Valve Index controller. That doesn't work. So the two things, one is to be able to get that force squeeze to work correctly, and the other is to make them not switch unless I actually have squeezed them, so that this will stay on here. And if I happen to touch the grip over here, that it won't switch on me. It's kind of what I want to do. So, okay. Trying to think what else. Well, we got the yoke, and but but they actually, the controllers actually work for most things. They actually work pretty good. So let me see if I can get this airplane started here. Oh, let me before I go too far. The throttle's a little crazy. It may be all these kind of axes. So if I go right here, it's not going to do anything. I have to hold the trigger down. But when I hold the trigger down, the throttle actually moved even though my controller didn't move. So there's something going on with where, because quite frankly, if I haven't moved the controller, that shouldn't move. It should stay right there. Uh, so what you kind of have to do is grab it and then pull back, just to prevent it from moving. So that's a little weird, you know. But so you can come down, you can move the trim wheel up and down. I come down here, put the fuel valve, the fuel cutoff valve in, and go ahead and move the flaps up and down. And like if I'm over here, like here, and I just happen to just touch the grip over here, I just lost the this right one. It's not active anymore. So I can do two things. I can pull in on the trigger, or I can just touch it. But I would much rather it be if I can grip it. So let me get the plane started up here. The beacon on. Give me some power. This doesn't work too well at all. I mean, I have to turn it way. I have to turn it way farther than what I should have to do. I mean, I had to take almost 2 or 3 bites at that starter switch to get it to work. Well, I'm surprised that the guy doesn't want to come over and give me a pushback, because normally it does work that way. So, so if I come over here and I'm on the outside knob, so I'm going to try to go to 27. 5, 6, 7. Whoops. Not too bad. It could use a little bit of fine tuning, but it's not too bad. And that's 850, so I'm going to go up to 0, 0. Zero, 0. And then if I go ahead and click on the flipper, when the original software update 7, when I would hit the flip thing, it would make both of them the same. So now they're staying independent like they should be. So that's all working quite well. The other thing is on software update 7, this heading was really tough to adjust. It's still a little bit touchy. You know, it's hard to like move it just one. It's jumping way too much, so that's not That's not a good thing. Let me see on the, let me see if the direction is, same way. Yeah. Yeah, it's still, it's pretty jumpy. So you have to turn it so far and all of a sudden it like jumps by. I mean, you should be able to individually turn one at a time, one position here at a time. Because you figure you got marks, so between W and 24, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marks. So you should be able to go right in between them, you know. And it's not, it's just way, 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 way jumpier than it should be. And what I don't know is there a way to adjust that? How's altitude look? Altitude's not too bad. That's not too bad. That's pretty smooth. Yeah, if we could get all of them to kind of work that way, yeah, that's really, really smooth. That's nice. That is quite that's quite workable. So if we could get the heading bug and the direction uh, kind of to be as smooth as that, that'd be great. And like I said, these aren't too bad. They still could use some tuning, but and I don't just don't know uh, where the tuning would be for them. I just don't know. Uh, Certainly have to investigate a little bit more. So, what was broken? Well, VR toolbar. So what was broken is oh these. So when I would click on that, that wouldn't show up. uh, it wouldn't show up with the mouse, or it wouldn't show up with the VR controller. So oh, and the other thing is that you couldn't move these. So now I can grab it with the VR controller, move it wherever I want. Put it over here, put it here, put it over here. You can put it pretty much wherever you want. So that's all dramatically improved. Dramatically improved. Um, so trying to think what else I wanted to go over that. Went over quite a few things. You know, VR toolbar. Yeah, and I'm using a program called Voice Attack, so that basically allows me to use. I was using it. I'll put it this way. I was using it as a crutch until we got VR controller support. Now that we have VR controller support, I don't need it as much. But for things like that, um, since I can't quite get the grip for the grip thing to work right, uh, then I'll continue for anything that I can't get the VR controllers to work correctly with. I'll go ahead and use that. So, but all in all, I mean, I am quite happy. I didn't plan on flying any today, but I I got to do a little more research on seeing if I can kind of improve some things. But that's kind of where I'm at. So let me go to escape, escape, and on my voice attack, if I don't stop talking, it doesn't realize that I just gave it a voice command. so so when it doesn't work, it's not that it didn't work. I was not using it correctly. So if I go over here on input, and basically, so these are the VR controllers, and these are the inputs. You know, so there's an A button. So there's an A button here, and this one says touch. So I assume this one means A button pressed, and this one means touch. So I just touch that button. And that's kind of how that works because the B button to turn the raycast off, that's how that works. And then you have a touch. So then when you come down here, you see you have a force squeeze and a squeeze. If um if I change the VR toolbar to squeeze, if I just touch the grip, the toolbar will show up, and that isn't That is absolutely not what I want. So I got to figure out why there's a disconnect between this force squeeze and this squeeze force. I got to figure out where the disconnect is. Let me squeeze it. No, it ain't going to show up. There's some kind of disconnect between these bindings here, these controller bindings for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I got to figure out where that disconnect is, and I just haven't figured it out. So if I'm over here, and this is kind of like in Steam VR, so if I click on Custom, and I'm going to say Edit this binding, I think this is one I saved. So a couple of things going on here. This is where you could go in and you could absolutely edit these things as long as you see these little pencil marks. You can edit that. The way this one's worked, and this is the first time I've seen this, is that this mirror mode is on. So if you notice, only this left one is highlighted, not the right one. So everything is a mirror. So if I make a change here, it's going to change over here. But let's go down to the grip. So the grip uses a force sensor. So I'm not sure what that means. Um, does that mean that it's the amount of force? And that's why it's not working? That's possible. With this one here, this is squeeze click. Uh, but it doesn't seem to, and that's click, but touch is none. But the squeeze in Microsoft Flight Simulator is a touch. That when I touch on the grip, so when I highlight it, so you can see this is the grip of a Valve Index controller, and so there's some disconnect here, and I don't know what it is, and I've looked in the SDK. I can't find anything that says anything about the VR controllers uh, bindings. Bindings. This is what this is called. This is I've been playing around with VR controllers for almost 3 years, so I know how to go in here and I know how to edit things, but I need to know from a sim what's the connection. Uh, I'm an X-plane. I can change anything in here and make it reflect an X-plane. Just not knowing how to do that here. So let's go back, back, back. Down here, controller bindings. I want to go back to default. But I don't want to use a custom binding quite yet until I can figure out how this works. So even though if I go on here, it's still not going to work. Nope, not going to work. And one more thing. Custom. Edit. So, in the same way as like some of these haven't been mapped yet, so trying to figure out. Oh, where am I going? Yeah. So on X-Plane, the bindings are Steam VR. But on Microsoft Flight Simulator, the bindings are OpenXR, and they are different. They are absolutely different. So, and I can view, I can click here and I can view what these are the original bindings, the default bindings to be the right term. But I just can't. I can't figure out the connection. So let me go back here, make sure I'm not on. That I'm on default. In the same way as test controller. So this is the left hand. So this is a good way. So I can put this controller up here, and you can see as I start to squeeze, right here I'm just touching it. I haven't squeezed it. Now I squeeze it, and then you can see that the grip lights up. That's what I need to get working. And you also can see like force. So I have that forces went all the way. So if they're using the force, you would think that if I squeeze it that hard, that would be the Microsoft Flight Simulator would recognize that. So and like on the button, like I'm touching the A button, and now I pushed it down. So that's pushed. So it changes color. So I release it. I'm still touching it. No, I'm not. Touch, push, and the button is B button is the same way. So I'm touching the B button and I'm pushing it down so it lights up. Thumbstick, same way. I'm touching the middle of the thumbstick. I push it down and that turns to white. So you can actually see me moving the thumbstick up and down, up and down. Uh, Trigger. I'm touching the trigger. I pulled the trigger. And trackpad. Force. Trackpad's a little, always have been a little weird. It was kind of weird. It's kind of like blown right out of there. So let's go back. Yeah, and this is what happens when I play around with this too much. I tend to seemingly break it. So testing controller goes to null. I don't know why it does, but it does. And even if I go back to left hand, it doesn't work. It's broken. That I can't test the controller anymore. Same thing. To test the controller again, this also happens. So when I go bouncing around back and forth, and this is not just Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've seen this in X-Plane too. If I bounce back and forth, uh, somehow the binding stuff, the binding UI, I guess would be the right way to say it, the binding UI tends to get confused, and don't know why. So none of this will work anymore. I mean, it doesn't even show up, you know. So I'll close out of here, get back to here, and back to here, back to here. So that was kind of what I wanted to kind of go over is the things that I've kind of like discovered, and uh, so a lot of it is, I mean, not a lot. I mean, a lot of it, yes, is definitely it's much improved. I'm uh, I'm like quite happy uh, with what I'm seeing. So, but we still got a ways to go. So, hmm. uh, trying to think. Yeah, let me bounce back. But I think I'm kind of yeah. So one other thing, as long as I'm here. So I'm using a Vive Pro 2. So my native resolution is 2448 by 2448. So to get some, to try to get some reasonable frames in Microsoft Flight Simulator with this headset, because it's pretty high end, I basically set this to 100%. And I start up Steam VR with basically nothing on my desktop running. And I pretty much repetitively get a number around here. It's always like 33. So it's 3332 or 3350, somewhere's around there. So that's my initial resolution, and then per application. So this is uh, hmm, that's weird. I'm not seeing gotta I gotta look at something. Not right now, but I gotta look at something because I thought that I could set that I could set the how much. Um, Let me look. Escape. Escape. Yeah. 23. Okay. Uh, I actually thought there was a place in Steam VR where I could set the percentage, and that's how I get this number here. But regardless, this is basically the resolution that I'm telling Microsoft Flight Simulator to run to my Vive Pro 2. So this number is just a little bit under native resolution, and I find it works fairly well. Yeah. So this all like looks pretty good. So I got a little bit of red over here, not a lot. Um, Most of it's amber. I'm not really dropping like a lot of frames. I'm dropping some, but not a lot. And so the experience is actually pretty smooth. And we I'm actually pretty happy because the last thing that I was kind of waiting for before I could before I would like kind of be happy streaming Microsoft Flight Simulator again in VR is a VR controller support because uh, I need to have, like right now, like I have a chat window in here, so I can interact with chat. I have basically my whole desktop's in here. I have the sound mixers in here. Um, Trying to think what else I got in here. And when I would be like doing a flight, uh, I would have like a little nav map would also be in here. So it would allow me to uh, basically interact with Microsoft Flight Simulator windows and with windows that are on my desktop that I could bring into the VR cockpit. And with, I won't say no impact on my frames, but not very much. Not very much. So, cockpit. So this is the other thing I can do is I can kind of jump out of the airplane and with a voice command. So it's kind of cool that you can absolutely do that. And then I can absolutely do like a pre-flight out here. kind of watch the surfaces. So, oh, I know one thing I gotta check. Cockpit. So, I was told ATC. So, I had heard that if you have the mounts on one of these windows, it's kind of hard to see my pedals. I'm gonna change the time of day. ATC. VR toolbar. Well, let me put that on there. Now that is entertaining. So, I bring the weather map here. So my pointer is not touching it. So, I can move the pedals back and forth. I can see them move. Yep, works. But, if I have the pointer on here, the pedals no longer move. That's crazy. I heard this happens, but it's really crazy. And what I heard is it was pedals, throttles, and I use VR throttles, so it doesn't matter to me. But that is crazy. But the yoke doesn't do that. Wonder why. Oh, that's just crazy. Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Yeah, I'm glad I remembered that. Yeah, that is just kind of crazy. So, I think it's probably pretty much yeah, yeah, pretty much any window, you know. So if I'm over here, yep, they work. So as soon as I put that pointer over there, you can actually hear it. Yeah, you can hear it moving. That stops it. That's funny. That is funny. So, pretty jokey. I'm pretty happy. Um, yeah, like I said, the only thing I need to figure out is I gotta figure that out that the connection between what I gotta do, I guess, is document. Um, Suppose spoiled by X-Plane. Because in X-Plane, I have a program called a data rep tool, and I just basically fire it up and look at the commands to see what's going on, but just don't have those kind of tools. I'm just trying to see how easy I can set RPMs. Yeah, that's gonna make doing patterns a little bit hilarious, but that's life. Yeah, because if it's highlighted like this and I grab it with my trigger, it should not move. And that moves. Didn't move a lot, but it still moved. That should not move. So I got it highlighted. I pulled the trigger, and that moved. That moved in. That should not do that. That is not right. Trim wheel doesn't seem to do that. Does it a little bit, not much. What about mixture? I'll pull the mixture back a little bit. Not enough, I'll kill the engine, but yeah, it does it too. Yeah, I need to figure out how those are working. I don't know. I just don't know how all this is working. But I do know it's better, and I'm pretty. I could certainly stream this, so that'll be probably the next order of business is to go ahead and stream it. So yeah, I had better frames earlier. I was doing some testing. I had up around 45. Um, so my guess is well, a couple of things could have happened. Just the way the servers work, that could have been different. Let me jump out of the airplane. Cockpit. Cockpit? Yeah, that didn't seem to make too much difference. It does look like I can see 40 every once in a while. But I was seeing between 40 and 45 earlier today, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, so when I get out of the cockpit, the not the Microsoft Flight Simulator windows, but the windows I bring in with OVR Toolkit, those all come with me. So they're out here. So my desktop's out here, my sound mixer's out here, and the chatty window's out here with me. So good dope. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a day. Like I said, I hadn't planned on streaming or on flying. I just kind of wanted to kind of go over some things that I have found, and so to try to make cockpit, just to try to make other people VR toolbar, just to make other people's life a little bit easier as to, because this is how I've flown in VR for basically years now. Is a pair of valve index controllers, a physical yoke, and physical pedals. I've flown this way for 2.5 years. Ever since I got my valve index controllers, I've flown this way. Because when I first read about them, it was probably 2 years before I ever could even think about even pre-ordering them. So it was a long way. And but when I could pre-order them, they have fulfilled what I wanted in a VR controller, where basically, because I've been taught to fly a general. I'm a former student pilot, so about 108 hours in a Cessna 172. And after about the first 10 hours of flight, I finally learned how to trim an airplane so that with just my fingertips, I basically can pull the plane. I can basically land an airplane. Whoops. That was exciting. I'm not sure how I did that, but basically, so I can land an airplane, I can turn an airplane, and I'm doing it with fingertips. You don't need to do any more than that. You don't. That's probably enough to get a turn. That's enough, and I'm just doing it with fingertips. You know, you don't need to grab a hold of it with your hand. You know, you don't have to put two hands on it. No. You don't need to do that. And how is that possible? Well, what the very most important part is keeping the plane in trim. So if the plane's in trim, basically most of the time, uh, you're only making like some slight um, direction changes, but not elevation changes generally. Um, because if it's in trim, it's gonna it has an airspeed, and it's gonna basically fly reasonably level. What do I mean by that? Plus or minus 100 feet of what you picked for elevation. Um, you should certainly be able to, in an airplane like this, plus or minus 100 feet should not be a challenge. So once you have a plane trimmed that way, when you're coming in for, like for a landing, basically you're not doing a pitch change at all. I mean, you're coming in at a specific airspeed. If it's the right airspeed, 500 feet per minute, that's what you're going to descend at. So you're just basically going to come in at an angle and 500 feet a minute, and sooner or later the runway's going to meet you. So when the runway gets 5 feet or so underneath you, then start pulling back on the yoke. Get the nose up. Try to get rid of the airspeed. Slowly, or slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. Till finally the plane's going to run out of airspeed, and hopefully about that time you're less than a foot above the runway, and you do a nice soft touchdown, and you gently release the yoke. Don't drop it. Just release it slowly, and let the nose wheel touch the ground. You just landed an airplane, and if you're kind of doing it correctly, it should be under 100 feet per minute, minus 100 feet per minute when you land. You're coming down at 500 feet per minute, so you got to get rid of that. So you got to go from 500 feet a minute to 100 feet a minute, or less. Less is better, and that's just how you do a nice soft landing. So, and all the other things kind of come into play. If you got a crosswind, how hard the wind is blowing against you on the cross, or even if it's going right down the runway. If the wind blowing at you when you're landing is strong enough, I mean, you'll look, and your ground speed even though you've got airspeed, your ground speed will be it'd be pretty low. You gotta look out, and you're like barely moving, and but it's because the wind's going across the airplane, helping it still fly. So. Alrighty, I guess let me get this bugger shut down. So we'll go ahead and we'll kill the avionics, and then we pull the mix. Plane dies. Turn off taxi light, beacon light, masters. Come on. That needs work. Yeah, you should legitimately. I should be able. I'm gonna hold the trigger and turn. When I turned that far, that should have started the airplane, but it actually didn't even move it. So it's highlighted. Yeah, maybe it's technique. Almost looks like it's technique. Let me try this. Technique. Yep. That's all it is. It's technique. I was I was trying to keep. You can't continue to rotate. So turn, turn, turn. So what I was trying to do is hold it down and just rotate. That does not work with this. So if I highlight it, turn, turn, I have to do it in steps. I can't do it in a continuous motion. That's fine. As long as you know what it is, that's fine. You know, it's just different than what I've been doing. So, alrighty. Guess we'll call it a day. If you enjoyed this content, please click on the follow button. I tend to any of my streams. I record all my streams to VOD, and then probably normally the same day. I'll go ahead and I'll get ready to put it over on YouTube. And so at midnight, the stream that I did during the day will end up on YouTube. And this one was pretty good. I didn't ramble too much. Sometimes I do that, but I covered pretty much all the topics I think I wanted. I don't think I missed anything. So, and that's kind of I stream VR, so I'm real adamant about using VR controllers in a flight simulator. There's a lot of different opinions. My goal is to not use a mouse in a VR environment. That's um, that's how I've been doing VR for years now. Uh, so so I may use a mouse to kind of get things started, but like on X-Plane, I'll click on the checkbox that says VR hardware, and until I'm done with a flight, I don't touch the mouse ever again. There's no need for it. My goal here in Microsoft Flight Simulator is to do exactly the same thing. We are way closer than we were a month ago, and I quite frankly, I'm quite happy because there's a lot of things about it that are pretty neat. I really like the place you can fly the point you can fly anywhere in the world, and uh, and you have pretty good scenery. That's cool. Um, Sometimes when I get to a place and I land at an airport, the airport itself is a bit of a disappointment. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes, uh, but the scenery, just the way they do it, stream it, uh, that's a pretty. You have to you have to give credit where credit is due. That's pretty cool. And like I said, the frames are acceptable enough to me, you know, that because I have to have at least reasonable frames before I can stream. And if they're not good enough, there's no way I can stream. So, and if the frames get too low, then it gets kind of stuttery, and that's just not a pleasant experience for both me or the viewer. Alrighty, we're done. Uh, have a great day. This actually turned out pretty good. I was pretty happy with how everything worked. So uh, we'll see you again on another stream. Goodbye.